You don't need permission. There's no gatekeepers anymore, really. You just build an audience online, post your music online, and that's it.
My guest today is Henry Fong, internationally touring DJ, 15 years in the game, and mentor to close to 100 artists worldwide. In this episode, he gives his complete breakdown of what it actually takes to make it, and he starts with the fundamentals.
Number one is the music. Number two is like how strong the brand is and the marketing plan, I think. And then number three is just like kind of like what's going on with the back end of the business. Basically, you could break down any artist's success into having strengths across those three categories.
He then pulls back the curtain on the agency world and why the big names aren't always what you think.
If you're not one of these acts that are just like cranking out 10K plus a show, it's like you're kind of going to be shuffled pretty low on the priority list. What an agent doesn't do is an agent can't take somebody that doesn't have any momentum and doesn't have a fan base, and they're not going to help you do that.
And his message to every artist who thinks content creation isn't part of the job:
if you don't do this, it's not going to work. This is part of the package. If you want it, then you'll do this.
15 years of experience condensed into 1 hour. This one's for you.
Get signed, get support, career takes off. You said that's a lie. So in your opinion, what's actually true for artists today?
For artists today, we're just living in a completely different climate. And I just think that you don't need to get signed by anybody. You just literally make content. You find fans that love your music, and you just start building a fan base online. And you can do it in a pretty short amount of time these days, and you don't need permission from anybody. And so I just think that's the difference now. You don't need anybody to get signed to. You don't need permission. There's no gatekeepers anymore, really. You just build an audience online, post your music online, and that's it. There's a lot more to it, obviously, but yeah, simply put, though.
And so in your opinion, what then separates a DJ who makes it and someone who never really breaks through?
What would it take to convince you that spending money to market your music could actually make a difference? Like, real difference. That the fans you're gaining are intentional, targeted, and actually care about your music. How many monthly listeners would you need to see to believe it actually works? 10,000? 30,000? A million? Well, we're a group of artists who've built millions of monthly listeners using a very specific and repeatable strategy. It worked so well that record labels and marketing agencies started asking us how we were doing it. So we turned that strategy into an ebook, sold tens of thousands of copies, built an agency around it, and after helping thousands of artists grow on Spotify, we finally did the obvious thing. We turned it into a software. And that software is called Intelligent. It's a system we wish existed when we were trying to grow our own music. You see, music marketing, it doesn't have to suck. And this is how we do it now. If you want to learn more, check the link in our description.
I mean, there's so many different factors, right? There's basically three main categories that I think things break down into. It's just like, number one is the music. Number two is like how strong the brand is and the marketing plan, I think. And then number three is just like kind of like what's going on with the back end of the business and stuff. It's like, how are your business relationships and how's your networking and who's your team and things like that. And I think just like, basically you could break down any artist's success, I think, into having strengths across those three categories. And so, everybody's going to be a little bit different amongst those three things. I think, some people are going to lead with the music and they're going to be incredible musicians, 10 out of 10 musicians, right? And that cream will rise to the top. And some artists are going to be insanely good marketers and really build very, very strong brands, but not have maybe the most perfect music. And that's going to work too. Some guys are super well networked. They know everybody. They have fucking awesome team behind them, and they got, decent music, decent brand, and that can carry you very far too. So again, I just think it's those three things and being well balanced as you can across those three things.
And in your opinion, what would you say most artists get wrong? So if you're taking, music, I feel like that is an obvious sort of where most people will hopefully spend most of their time. Well, it might be different nowadays, but between like brand, consistency and networking, where do you see people struggling, especially people who are trying to start out?
Yeah, so I think there's like, first things first, it's the music industry, and the music is the most important thing, and that's how the business functions, as an artist. So that is the foremost priority. And so I think that the struggle is really in the beginning stages is to really get that the music up to that really professional level, you know. That's going to look different for everybody, and there's no like, you know, there's no right way to say what's professional or not. It's just having well put together ideas where you're executing well, you've selected the sounds going into the songs very well with taste. There's good ideas in the music, it's unique, great songwriting, great melodies and things like that. And so I think most people are just struggling with how to put together really, really good ideas. You know, there's people out there that can make a lot of crazy sounds. Like, you know, you've seen these guys, they're just like have these walls of like synths in their like studios and stuff, and they're just like twist and stuff, make crazy sounds. It's like, just because you do that doesn't mean that you can put together a well executed idea with good songwriting that's going to reach a large amount of people. You know what I mean? So I think it's about like executing good song ideas is really the struggle of that. And then that's just like stage one, right? So having that professional quality of music and be making tasteful stuff, that's just like the barrier to entry, right? So before we even have this conversation about networking and marketing and content, all this stuff, it's like to get your foot in the door, the music already has to be at a certain professional level. So few people, like most people can't even get to that level. So once you get to there, you may be like, okay, the 20% of people that get to there. Now the struggle is how to build that into a brand that people connect with, how to take the music, how to package it with a nice brand, how to get the eyeballs, and then execute there. And then even a further less amount of people make it through that. And so to me, that's just kind of like the chain of events that I would, you know, think about.
And how would you describe your brand? What does Henry Fong stand for?
Well, I think, you know, if you want to describe brands, like there's in marketing, there's these things called brand archetypes, where it's like, you know, there's different brands kind of give you different feelings, and this could go for any brand. You know, like a brand like a Rolex or something is going to give you a certain feeling versus a Nike versus a Red Bull or whatever, right? And so I think, you know, I forget how many there are. There's like 12 common brand archetypes, and mine kind of fits into what's called an explorer brand, right? And so where I'm at right now in my stage of my career is I'm more traveling international and just exploring cultures, exploring especially like food. I love food to the point so much, Asian food in particular, where I tour a lot in Asia, that I developed this event called Henry Fong's Night Market. And that's just like an exploration of, you know, Asian culture and combining food and Asian night market culture with dance music. And so right now where my brand is, I think, you know, it's kind of an explorer brand where you're kind of just on this journey of seeing somebody dive into different cultures and try different things. You know, it's kind of like it's like half Anthony Bourdain and then half like, you know, doing some. I participate in a lot of other sports too. I like doing martial arts. I like surfing a lot too. And so I just work in these outside things into my brand as well too. And so I think that's how the best way that I can kind of describe where my brand as an artist is at right now.
Interesting. And to that point, and something that you also do very well, I must say, is, you know, you've capitalized on long form content quite a lot, and you're touching on points which are not necessarily, I would say, music related, which are sort of more personality related, right? And in a time and day where, you know, I think it's fair to say that showing more of your personality, maybe sort of being what DJs used to want to be, that sort of mystique feeling. Do you think that's more important nowadays, showing these other elements of, as you said, traveling around the world, trying out different foods, sharing your surfing, your jiu-jitsu, all these things? Is that something that if you were to speak to a younger artist today, they should try and incorporate that into their content?
Yeah, so I think right now it's like the landscape's changed a lot, and you know most of the consumers of dance music that will go to concerts are going to be of age of Gen Z. You know, they're going to be younger and they're probably in their 20s mostly, maybe up into the 30s as well too. But the way that that generation consumes media is they can kind of see through the bullshit a little bit. You know what I mean? So you have some like kind of like over marketed like mystique act with like all of these things. It's like how deep how deep can somebody really connect with that, right? I think there have been many great acts that have been like that though, that have been launched over the years, And that still definitely can work. It just requires a different level of commitment and patience, I think, to do a sort of kind of mystique act versus like coming out of the gates. If you look at all the big DJs now, look at a Dom Dalla or John Summit, it's like those guys show a lot of their lives online. And that's why people connect. Like people connect with John Summit. Obviously, he's got the music and stuff, but people connect with John Summit because he's just like, you're flipping through the stories. Yeah, you just see his life, and it's just a dude like partying backstage, and he's like drinking tequila with his friends, and just like going on 4K runs and stuff. Like that's what people want to like. You want to be a little bit more relatable and stuff. So you're seeing the biggest artists on the planet right now have used that more relatable kind of every man brand to grow so big versus like back in the day, like somebody like a Daft Punk, right? It's like that worked really good at that time, but you got to ask yourself if like that were to repeat itself in 2026, would that work as well? And I do think it still can work, and those types of brands can work. It's just going to be a slower grind, and you're dealing with a different landscape of a different generation that consumes media differently.
Got it. And back to a point that you mentioned earlier, where music is obviously the most important, but in a time which we're aware of, where arguably, I'm not saying that it is so definitely, but arguably music production is becoming easier and easier. That doesn't necessarily mean that the end product itself is necessarily greater. But if you're someone starting out right now, and music production, whereby you can have a song finished in a couple minutes, which sounds quite good, at least, let's put it at that, is that something you have to focus on more then? Is that sort of entertainer slash creator slash brand fixation more important for somebody starting out today versus someone like a Daft Punk back in the day where that wasn't necessarily required?
Yeah, that's actually a good point. The music 100% is easier to make now, right? Like everything's democratized with like, first of all, the information online to learn how to make music. It's like when I started in like 2010, 2009, like there was barely any tutorials online. There was a couple producer forums and like a handful of basic YouTube tutorials. And the rest you kind of just had to like learn from somebody who learned from somebody, a friend that learned a trick from somebody. And that's how you learned. And it was like not very democratized. And now it's like there's
like
a
niche kind of, right? Like it was kind of
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like now it's like it's so democratized and you can learn, like there's production schools everywhere, there's production courses, there's a million sample packs. It's like we had like 3 sample packs back in the day really that everybody used, and now it's like you can go on Splice and you can just select some good sounds and just layer some shit real quick, and you have like a song, like you said, that sounds pretty decent. Now here's the thing, it's like the audience and the average fan really doesn't care how you made it, and this is where like the debate comes in. It's like they just are like, does this song make me feel good? And so if somebody's listening to a festival and they're hear a song play, it's like they don't give a fuck if you use Splice. They're just, how does the song make them feel? So again, like you said, like somebody with pretty limited experience can put together some loops and make a pretty good song very short. So with that being so democratized now, the focus now is more on, like you said, the brand. And it's like, how do you build something that deeper that fans want to connect with? And then how do you also scale up like how many eyeballs you can get on the project? Because that's the next thing, is like you can have good music, you have a good brand, but it's like if you don't have the eyeballs on it, it's not going to work. So then you have to figure out, okay, how to get the social views and how to grow everything from there. So I do think that now we kind of moved into a landscape that's definitely prioritizing more on the brand and getting the eyeballs now, because the music is so it's fairly easy to make a professional song now. So
yeah. And you made a video which I will link in the description, which is a very good video, so I'd recommend everyone to watch it, where you rank music marketing strategies by tier. So to the people who haven't seen it, would you mind giving us maybe just a quick version? What's working? What's a waste of time? That'd be great to hear.
Yeah, so I made that because I think the thing that people...
Here's a reality most artists never get told. 60 to 80% of your Spotify streams don't come from playlists you pitch to or posts you make. They come from Spotify's algorithm, things like Discover Weekly, radio, Release Radar, mixes, all of that. So the real question isn't how do I get on playlists? It's how do I get Spotify to push my music? And the answer is something called popularity score. You see, Spotify assigns every track and artist a hidden score based on how well it performs compared to others. And that score determines how much algorithmic exposure you will get. And we spent years digging into artist data, analyzing over 1,000 careers, and we found that the biggest driver of that score is velocity. Essentially, how many real people listen to your track in a short period of time. And our software, Intelligent, exists to solve exactly that problem. It's a tool we built as artists to consistently drive real listeners to new releases, spike that early momentum, and trigger algorithmic growth. That's a game. We just made it playable. If it sounds interesting, check it out with the link in our bio.
Think is gonna like help their project. It's not what they actually need. And people were, I think, shocked by what my opinions on what it were. And like the stuff that was ranked S tier was like the fundamentals and the basics. Like, so what I ranked S tier was like, you should be making organic short form content and have that like really dialed in. Like, there's not anything like, one thing that you guys do really well with the platform is like, you guys are experts at ads, right? But I wouldn't suggest somebody come in and use ads as the first strategy. To me, ads are a complementary strategy down the road when you have all the other stuff figured out, right? So I get these questions all the time. It's like people are looking for a shortcut off the bat when they're starting their project. And there's all these other things you could do. You can, hire social media influencers to post your songs and all this kind of stuff too. You can run all these like ad campaigns. You can pay for expensive DJ promo to get your song sent out to very expensive, like big DJs and things like that. At the end of the day, it's like, those are all complementary strategies. The core is, how are you just going to get the fans first, And the only best way to do that really is just be posting a shitload of reels and TikToks. Like, there's really no other way around that. And people want to try to circumvent that all the time. I see it because people have an aversion to social media. A lot of artists do, and they don't want to put in that consistency because, rightfully so, it's exhausting and it's a completely different skill set. And so people are looking for these other marketing techniques out there where they're going to circumvent posting on socials. And I just don't think that exists, to be honest. And so that's kind of why, if you watch the video, the number one S tier thing is just making organic short form iPhone social content, really. And then I forget what the other S tier thing was. It might have been like DMing and connecting with artists, like connecting with bigger artists and sending them your music. I think I ranked that so high because it's so cheap. And how many careers has that broken, right? So like, I broke my career by just emailing DJs. Like, I get some DJs email and I send them a remix. I remember emailing, like, I think it was like DM'd somebody on SoundCloud, like Afrojack or somebody back in the day. And they wrote back and they're like, 6 song, I'm going to play it. And that helped launch my career. And like, so many such cases of people just reaching out to artists, sending them their song. The artist ends up playing it. They had a clip and they're like, oh my God, so-and-so played my song. Boom. It launches the career.
100%. This is one of the benefits of actually doing this podcast, is that when one artist and another artist who, like yourself, have made it, and they say the same thing, then it's sort of like, okay, that must mean, guys, listen up, take this.
Yeah.
Will Clark said exactly the same thing. He said if he was starting out, he wouldn't have a Spotify profile. He would just be making music and sending it out to a bunch of DJs for free all the time, and posting TikToks daily, posting Instagram Reels daily, just with sort of easy edits of the tracks, and that's it. And then once you have built up demand, then go to that next level. Then consider those next things. But in the beginning stages, it's all about getting your sound right and just putting out for free. Anywhere, SoundCloud, send it to DJs, whatever you can. So it's really, really, really interesting that you say exactly the same thing, and makes me want to just underline that double for the people listening right now.
That's cool. Yeah, I respect Will a lot. That's cool to hear he said that as well too. And then all these other marketing techniques, it's like they all work, right? It's like whether it's clipping or social media influencers or ads, it's like all that stuff works, but you kind of want to have the fire burning first, and then it's like you throw the gasoline on the fire, and then you really start to scale shit out from there. Versus coming in thinking you're gonna circumvent building a fan base on social media by posting, like you're just not gonna do that. I don't think in this day and age. So that's kind of that was kind of my what I wanted people to really take away from that video.
100%. I want to go just a tiny bit deeper on the whole sort of marketing side of things, because I do think your content is really, really good. And
Thanks.
Can you point to like a particular type of content that is working really well, that you sort of see to work really well? Will mentioned, just because we just spoke about him, he mentioned and recommended the sort of like day one until reaching XYZ, sort of like day one until I'm headlining Coachella, and then just basically every single day posting, videos around and centered around that sort of core narrative, and basically building a brand around that. Is that something that you have done, or something you're currently testing or seeing in your own content, or maybe you're seeing it elsewhere, where you're like, that looks good, this is something I want to try?
Yeah. So I think you got to think about on these content formats is you got to think about like what's actually going to get fans that are going to come see you at a show, right? So I'll see producers all the time. They're making content and they're like, oh, this is what compressor I use, and I made this sound with Serum. It's like, that's gonna get views, right? But is that gonna are like girls gonna be like lining up to buy tickets to go to your show off that video? No. So you want to think about like what is going to make somebody want to go see you. And so the style of content that I would hinge on if I was like starting a new project today, and I'm still doing right now, is it's obviously DJ centric content. Like people are literally buying a ticket. Obviously the music is good too in the studio videos. I would 100% do those, but like somebody wants to go see an entertaining DJ, an artist, right? So what I would do is, like, if you don't have not everybody has the ability to go play in a packed club, right? So you just film a really high quality set with your friends in a really cool location. You get 25 friends, you put them behind you. You can hang out, like treat it like a get together. You film it and make it really high production quality, multi-camera, very high production. Film that. You can make that for under $1,000, and you're gonna have 25, 30 clips to post from this DJ set. And then now you have something where you're showcasing your unreleased music, you're showcasing your music taste, you're hitting a format that if people see it, they're going to say, oh, wow, I like this artist. And that's actually going to drive people to go see your shows. Like you've seen it, like somebody who's done this really good is like, there's an artist named Baby J. Go look at Baby J's content. She's like, films perfect, multicam clips showcasing the style of music she plays. The clips absolutely went explosive viral online, and people are like, I want to go see this act. And now, now they have like a party that they do, and it's just like selling out all over the world because of these DJ clips. Versus, think about it like making like in the studio video showing what like Serum sound you used. You know what I'm saying? Like those are just like two different results into ticket buying fans. So I think my suggestion is to lead more with the artist style content first versus leaning into other things. I think certain types of clips though can work really good outside of DJing though, and that can still help build your brand a lot too. But if I had to like narrow down to one, it's just a live performance DJ clip, a really good high quality live performance DJ clip in a really controlled setting where it's looking really good. Everybody's having fun, your friends are having fun, and you can just have fun with it, So
100%. I think it's also like a lot of it is potentially sort of the fear of it just getting like 200 views or something like that, and that just looking in their head cringe. Or on the other hand, there's so much to do. Many of them have a full-time job, maybe they're a student, and then like making music and having that whole other thing on the side is just, it seems like a nuisance, which is why you said they want a shortcut. Do you think that what they just have to do, these people who struggle maybe with this, is just like a mindset shift on like, this is actually part of the parcel nowadays, and we just have to make this arguably at least slightly just as important, or maybe even just more important than the other things?
Yeah, I think it is you're right. The first thing is a mindset shift for sure. Like you just have to say like, I'll be coaching, like I've coached at this point probably somewhere between 50 to 100 students on like how to get their artist careers to the next level. And one thing I just like said at point blank, I was like, this is just, if you don't do this, it's not going to work,
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
And you just say it as plain as that, is like, this is part of the package. If you want it, then you'll do this.
Yeah. And there are
And you
also
just
like,
kind of give it point blank like that.
and there's also now like these, like, for example, trial reels. I know now exist on Instagram, right? That you can
Hmm.
sort of like share content which your followers won't see. Like
I just did one before we hopped on.
and so you can just like test like a bunch of these, right? And then simply just upload the ones that are, getting attention. And then, when you sort of think about that point and also about what you mentioned earlier about, okay, ads come at a later point, you can use the organic videos nowadays. And because I, work quite a lot in ads, the best type of ads are really the ones that are
Yeah.
not ads. They're the ones you can just literally use a video that is a completely organic video that has some kind of focus on what you're trying to do, right? Be that introduction to who you are as an artist, be that, getting people to listen to your music. And you can put some spend behind that, right? But you can test that, first of all, organically, hidden from the people who might call you cringe, and then only release it because it's only cringe until it works, right? If you've got a video that has thousands and thousands of views, all your mates are going to be like, well done, mate, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's a good point. I actually did that the other day. We were promoting a show, one of those night market shows that I was talking about that has like the Asian night market set up before the show. And we were looking for ads, and I looked at the first ad cut that they were going to run to sell tickets to the show, and I was like, I don't think this one's very good. And then I went on TikTok, and I found a TikTok this girl posted of the last night market show. I downloaded it off of TikTok, and I sent it to the ad team. I go, hey, this performed. It's got like 40,000 views on TikTok, which is pretty good. And I sent this to the team. I just ripped it straight off the girl's TikTok. It's me like organic raw iPhone, like not even good quality. Me pouring like soup for somebody, and then me all of a sudden on stage playing the show. And the caption just said, "Bro went from pouring soup to everybody to rocking the club," or something like that, right? And it like did really good. And I sent this to the team. I was like, "You guys should probably run this as try this as the ad at least somewhere in there." So that kind of like I see what you're saying. Just find the stuff that works.
Yeah, and it's not
Organically,
even like
probably.
back in the day, people would say, you need a clear visual, an audio hook, and then you need to sort of like get in the objections or like the reasons as to why people should listen to your music. And then in the end, have a very clear call to action, like, nah, no, just film what, like, you could take it even to a point where you're sort of like, okay, some artists, right, they might lean more into sort of a lifestyle sort of fashion sort of content, right? Some lean more into sort of like the music, you want to be the DJ's DJ. There's lots of different sort of like with the brands you mentioned, there's lots of different archetypes that you can sort of position these into. You just have to make the decision, what is the least point of friction for you as an artist? What content can you make where you just don't want to like
Yeah.
shoot yourself? Then just post those on trial reels, see which ones pop, make slight adjustments every single time, what is similar, what is working, and then post the ones that are working, and then slowly scale that up, and then utilize something like, ads to sort of put rocket fire underneath it. I think if you have that sort of mindset, right, start off with the mindset shift, as we said, and then just utilize what's in front of you in order to make that happen. And I always, that's why I'm so happy to have conversations with people like yourself, where it's like, if there was a way to do this, automatically, what are you then doing anymore, right? Like if you're not even, then you're not really working at all. Like then you should be doing this. Like it's part of the game. You have to do it. Let's try and make it, possible. So yeah, great thing that you said that. I want to move to something a little bit different. You wrote a really interesting article on your newsletter, where you do have a couple. So another plug. Check out his newsletter. But you wrote about sort of like the breakdown between big agencies versus boutique agencies. And coming from someone, I actually really respected this, that you kind of sort of made the point clear that actually, you maybe do need a big agency. And I would love for you to sort of explain what your reasons are for why, and to the people.
Be honest, you're tired. You're making music, filming content, posting every day, and watching your numbers bounce between 10 views and 500 with no idea why. And that's not a strategy. That's roulette. You see, the artists that are growing, they aren't chasing viral moments. They're running controlled, targeted ad campaigns that push their music to the right people at the right time. And Intelligent makes that super simple. You set it up once, let the system run, and thereby you can make music again instead of refreshing analytics all day, every day. Stop hoping and start controlling your growth. Check it out with the link in our bio.
Yeah, so that's like another topic of discussion. Like every artist, they're just like, an agency is going to change my life and all these things. And first things first is like people try to, I think, prematurely jump into wanting an agent. And an agent is really there to like help when you kind of already have built yourself up, have demand organically almost. Like what an agent doesn't do is an agent can't take somebody that doesn't have any momentum and doesn't have a fan base, and they're not going to help you do that, right? So it's like it's like kind of the gasoline on the fire and an analogy that we said on the other stuff too. Like all of these things in your artist career, they need to come organically from you. There's no people out there that are going to make you do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, okay, maybe there's some managers that can guide you in the right way. I'd say if out of all of the people, a manager would be that person, maybe that can help you build that momentum. But a lot of times, like agents, it's like they're there to just like complement something that already is starting to get demand, and then they know how to take that and they route the right tours and the right clubs and do all these things and get the right looks and the right festivals. Then they know what to do with it, right? So I just want to preface this by saying that the agents, getting a big agent's not going to be a magic pill to like solve all your problems at all. um but yeah, I've been on both big agencies and boutique agencies like I am now, and there's really pros and cons of both, to be honest. But I think like the main takeaway though is that there are most of the big festivals that book DJs across the world, they book them from a very small amount of agencies. So these big agencies have a lot of power in terms of just like the sheer numbers of talent that are playing these things.
What are those big agencies?
Yeah, it's like, it's like CAA, WME, UTA, Wasserman, which is now rebranded to something else. Um, those primarily big, like the typical Hollywood agencies, it's like those take home a large portion of the pie for bookings, unfortunately. And that's just how the game works. It's like those are their trusted agencies, and they have the biggest artists on the world are usually on those rosters. So naturally, like if you're looking at like a festival like Coachella or Ultra Music, whatever, it's like if you're looking at the percentage of the bookings, I saw this study that came out. It's like, it's going to be probably 70% of the bookings or whatever it is are going to come from those big agencies. So it's just kind of at that point, it's just kind of a numbers game, and they just have the power to, I think, negotiate a little bit better on behalf of their clients because of the roster and because of their existing relationships. Now, I think the cons of like being on some of these big agencies is that it's really easy to not be prioritized if you're not making a lot of money, right? So if you're not one of these acts that are like, they're going to give you a couple years, if you're not one of these acts that are just like cranking out 10K plus a show, it's like you're kind of going to be shuffled pretty low on the priority list. They can sit there and believe in you and grind on you for a couple years to hope build you up. But if you're not able to generate that momentum yourself, they can only really give it like a couple hard years of work for you. You know what I'm saying? Whereas like if you're on a boutique agency, it's again, those big festival bookings are going to take home a larger piece of the overall odds of getting booked. But on a roster, you're going to be just so much more prioritized. Like I do feel like since I've been on a more boutique agency, like I've just been prioritized so much more, you know? Yeah, I'm not like, I'm not the next DJ Snake, right? It's like, or whoever, it's like those big agencies, that's what a lot of times they're looking for. They're like, who's going to be the next big act? Because at the end of the day, it's a numbers game, right? It's a business. And they are oftentimes looking for that. Like these agencies have shareholders, you know what I mean? There's a publicly traded companies, a lot of them.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of like business dynamics that go into it versus, being with a more boutique agent where, they don't have to report to shareholders, any of this shit. It's like, they're not like, obviously they want to grow their business and things, but it's like, it's just a little more personable. And I feel like it's a little easier to get prioritized. So again, no matter what agency route you go with, there are pros and cons to both.
Yeah.
But yeah, in that article, I just kind of wrote some of my observations about it.
And so, do you feel like if we're just sort of like summarizing that, it's sort of like, okay, starting out, get the music right, figure out a way to crank out content, start, reaching out and sending music to DJs and other artists. Um, thereby, then maybe you start releasing yourself. You maybe even, dabble into sort of doing ads, utilizing a platform like ours. Thereby, you might get on the radar of an agent. That might be a boutique one. Maybe you ride with that agent for a couple, months or a year, and then through that, that might actually then be the formula to, okay, now at this point, maybe one of those big 4 or 5 that you mentioned, right? I could start to sort of like mingle and sort of shoot out to them. Is that sort of like the trajectory that you would sort of see is quote unquote, like possible?
Yeah, the only change I would make is in the middle of that, like after like the music starts to get a little traction and things like that. Usually, you're gonna find a manager first, and I think this is like my biggest tip is I think I would be looking for a manager before the agent because an agent, the agent's primary point of contact with the artist project, they're gonna have a relationship with the artist, of course, but they're gonna be dealing with the manager day to day. So if you try to get the agent first, they don't really have anybody to deal with on the business of the artist's project. You know what I'm saying? And I think that they are looking for a trusted partner. This is again my interpretation of it. They're looking for a trusted partner to do business with, right? That they can do long-term business over a long period of time. And if you don't have that manager there, I think it's a little bit harder for the agent to just like trust that the artist is going to do everything by themselves, right? They want to know that somebody's there supporting the artist that they can communicate with on a regular basis and develop strategies and talk about the business of the artist, right? So I think that finding the manager first is better, and that's the route that I went, and I think that that's what the path a lot of artists go. And so if you have the artist first, then the artist can then go, or sorry, yeah, if you have the manager first, they can go out and help you pitch and find that agent.
Right.
And so that's kind of manager first, then agent. Usually, I think would probably be the path of least resistance for a lot of artists.
Got it. And in a manager, once again, because I'm just speaking to the views that we have, does that have to be someone, in your opinion, that has management experience, or do you think that can be somebody who you think you might have a good working relationship with? They're kind of business savvy. This is something that they could do on the side because you have a friendship and that might be something fun to collaborate on, and you just are getting like an outside opinion? Or do you think that that manager has to be a quote unquote like kind of like CV stamp, I'm a manager?
I've seen both work, to be honest. Like Justin Bieber. Justin
Yeah.
Bieber, pretty prime example. Scooter Braun, like they did it the old-fashioned way, all together from the bottom together.
That
I
arguably
know,
didn't work out so well.
yeah. Well, got him pretty good. Got him to a pretty good level.
Of course.
Um, and then you have the other way around too, where it's like you have somebody super experienced. So I think like the route I took is like in the beginning you have those people that are just like savvy, they're ready to hustle, and they help you get you to a certain level. And it's totally normal for artists to change teams. Like artists change management teams and artist teams very often throughout the evolution of their career. Like I don't really know that many people that stay with the same manager the entire career or the same agent their entire career. It happens for sure, but I think like there's different people for different stages. Like my first quote unquote manager was like one of my friends from my hometown who was like managing me and a group of our DJ friends, right? And it's like, okay, that worked for like the first year, right? And then you kind of graduate, and then somebody else came in, and then you graduate, and then I ended up on a big management roster when I moved to LA. That was doing at the time, I think they had like Tiesto and Data Life and Bingo Players, and they managed a lot of those golden era EDM acts at the time. And so it's like I didn't go straight to the big one. I kind of had the friend that was helping out a little bit too, and kind of graduate your way up. But again, I've just seen so many different scenarios. I've seen plenty of cases where somebody just has a really good work ethic and they're down to just get after it and learn the business, and that works really well too. And then I've seen people just get found from the internet from a big management company, just, oh, this kid's blown up on SoundCloud, let's sign this guy, boom. For example, like a cool story was in my hometown of Orlando, Florida, where I started my music career. Kygo's manager is actually from Orlando, Florida, and he found Kygo on SoundCloud. And so he was just like a really like savvy business guy, really smart. Found this kid blowing up on SoundCloud. Was like, hey, I'd love to help you out with your project or whatever. And he literally, he used to come to my event, hang out and stuff. And here he is, found this guy on SoundCloud, and then boom, he's still with the same manager today, and they've done amazing things over their career. So, you know what I'm saying? It can work so many different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to touch on a different topic, future of nightlife. You've predicted that pop-up events, intimate experiences are sort of going to take over club culture. I want to ask you, why do you think the club model is changing? And I also want to, if you can, talk about Riot Wednesday and how maybe sort of time is sort of like, the past is repeating itself in a way.
Yeah. So, I'm not the only one with this opinion for sure. I think many people share this opinion. It's just the traditional model for nightclubs was like most of EDM too. So let's say like the golden era of EDM from like 2010 to like 2015 or whatever. Even in that pocket, it's like it was about like these big festivals too, but like a lot of these DJs were playing in like the quote unquote like Vegas style clubs, like where it's like based on bottle service and VIP and things like that. And that era of EDM just it all fit together and it all worked out. But over time, it's like we've moved into a period of time where just like wellness is just like being prioritized and people's diets and exercise and all these things. And like people don't necessarily want to just like going to like a club and getting bottle serviced in 2026. That's kind of weird, if you think about it. Like, so like that, it just feels like something that was like better to do in a different era almost, you know? There's people still that do it and you can still have a great time
Wow,
with your
it's sort
friends.
of like fringe now, kind of in a way.
It's just not even that. It's just like, it's just to like drink, like it just to doing it in that way in that
Yeah,
setting is just feels like it's a little outdated.
yeah,
And I just think, especially Gen Z, again, like back to like the landscape has changed and a new generation is the primary demographic at all these raves and club events and EDM events, and so think about like a generation that's definitely not drinking as much too. It's like, you know, they're just consuming things differently than say we did and the previous generations did. And I just think like people just like these intimate experiences now. You just like, yeah, okay, people can hate on like the coffee rave or whatever. It's like that sounds fun, like whatever. Like do a pop up at the bakery, do a pop up at the coffee event, pop up on the Santa Monica Pier. Like people want these like cool different experiences. Like how cool is that to just go to some pop up rave on the Santa Monica Pier? Like would you rather do that or would you rather just like be in VIP bottle service drinking Grey Goose? It's like to me it's like a pretty one-sided answer to that, and I totally understand why the current generation would rather do that. I would rather even DJ a lot like those events sometimes too. You know, this is more intimate vibe. The crowd's better. The content's going to be better. Like if you see all the content online too, it's like if I post the same clip from the same club that I've been playing for 10 years, and then I post a clip of me playing on the Santa Monica Pier or in a bakery, it's like that content's even going to do better anyways too, because people are looking at it and saying, oh, this looks like a cool event versus being in the same dark nightclub clips that people have been seeing for 15 years. And
100%.
so I just think it's just a changing landscape.
I think also a big part of it is that in-person events are obviously just absolutely rising for obvious reasons. Macro, we're all on our phones. You can do digital work. You can be an entrepreneur working by yourself very easily. And so the want and need, the desire to go and do parties is like you'll be like, oh, I'll take one on a Wednesday sober whilst drinking a nice matcha, right? And they're so interested. There's so many different formats. Like one that comes straight to my mind is, I'm not sure if you know these guys, Lab 54, right? They're sort of they're based out of the UK, super smart guys, and their whole concept is anywhere but a club, right? Literally, it could be your grandma's toilet, right? And they'll throw a rave there, and it'll just look sick because and people, they've got hundreds of thousands of followers. They get huge DJs, and it just works. And there's so many in every single city, because I know this because, with Nico and Philip, who I also work on Intelligent with, we started this thing called Mosaic last year, where basically we went to one country, one city, essentially all around the world for 1 year straight. We went to Rio, Buenos Aires, London, New York, LA, all these places. And kind of like Anthony Bourdain, we filmed the whole thing. We haven't posted a single vlog, but we filmed everything, and we aim to sort of film the whole thing. And in all these places, we don't know anyone. We don't speak the language, but you can quite easily find a table. You can quite easily rent something that isn't really a club and do some ads or do some content and get people to want to go and do it. And so I also think, where maybe streaming or, like the album was killed by streaming, right? And now AI music production might be killing streaming, right? Or at least that might be the world that we're heading in. Whereas like the end product is, you don't have a show to promote a song anymore. You have a song to promote a show, and that is so democratized. And I think it's not something or an opportunity that enough DJs, artists are really jumping on, because you can use it as something as simple as, hey, friends, come over, let's do a quick hangout. I want to film this, and you're just playing music, and those kind of videos can get thousands and thousands of views on YouTube, because people are just like looking for new sets to listen to while they're working. They can fall in love with your sound, with the characters involved there. And so I personally think that a huge opportunity, which really is a low barrier to entry, is starting like a pop-up event series, right? Because you can turn pretty much anything into it. And I think some people are doing like a really, really great job of that. And an example of that is like Lab 54. And so it'd be interesting to know, like, if you're speaking about these kind of things, in your mentorship, that'd be good to hear.
One thing we learned working with artists is that growth is hard to do alone. And that's why intelligence is far more than just the software. It comes with a community of thousands of artists, resources, and real guidance from people who are actually doing this day to day. You see, you learn how promotion works, you see what other artists are doing, you can ask questions, collaborate, and grow faster. And that's why it feels less like a tool and more like a shared system of artists building side by side. And if that sounds like something you've been missing, you can try Intelligent now and get 20% off for life. Check it out with the link in our description.
Yeah, I would suggest, like most artists, to try to throw one of these events at least one time. I came from a background. I started my career throwing events as well too. So I think it's like going to the college of the music business in one go. Like if you're gonna throw an event, you're gonna learn a lot about.
And everything can go wrong based on one thing, like weather. Just weather.
It's
no control over your whole events.
Yeah, that's just one small thing. It's just like there's so many things. Like if you threw an event and if you threw an event, you're gonna learn just like so much about yourself, so much about the business, and it's just 100% worth it. And I think many DJs actually came from throwing events, like especially in my time. I mean, even look at any, let's like break down any genre. It's like somebody like Michael Beebe and Pazza. It's like they had solid grooves. They've been throwing solid grooves for fucking long time, man. And like you could say that Solid Grooves events is the reason why they're probably as big as they are.
100%. Or Josh Baker with You and Me. He's got
Josh Baker throws event. Even like some of the US DJs, some of the bass music DJs, like there's a big trap duo here named Flosstradamus. Flosstradamus came from throwing events in Chicago. They throw these like dirty kind of house party vibe in this small club, and like that helped launch their career. Me and my friends, we did the same thing. We had an event in Orlando, Florida called Riot Wednesday, where we kind of had like the Boiler Room thing going on before Boiler Room was like very, very popular. Like we had the DJ booth
stole it.
all in the middle. Yeah, we had a DJ booth on the middle of the dance floor, and it was just cool. There was just, everybody was the same. There's no VIP. We had no VIP, no guest list. Yeah, people were spilling drinks on the CDJs sometimes, which sucked, but it's just part of the game. And we threw that event for a long time, and that helped launch my career a lot. Like it helped me in the local scene. I gained, I started getting booked in my state because of that event. And then I already knew the business of DJing, and then I had leverage to go and do other things with other people and things like that. So I mean, there's just so many pluses of throwing an event. It's not for everybody, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, like a lot of successful artists are community builders, right? So however you got to build that community with an audience, like if that's throwing pop-up events, that works. It's like somebody like Fred again is a great community builder, and how he like gives things to his fans. Like, he'll just like doing a live set on the side of the river in whatever European city. It's like giving unique experiences is building community. It's like if you're gonna be the guy that throws the pop-ups at the bakery or whatever. It's like that's giving people unique experiences and you're building community. So I think events are one of the best ways to build community, because at the end of the day, all it really breaks down to is like how many people want to come see you DJ and how fun is it. That's really, people are there for experience and they're there to dance with their friends and have fun. And it's like you don't have to overthink it with all this like crazy fancy strategies and stuff. It's just like, are people coming and they're having fun, and then are they going to tell their friends and they're going to come again next time with more people.
100%. And it's also like, for me, it's so many moments, because like if you're not getting booked, book yourself, right? If you don't have content, you've got content.
Totally.
It's all these things, and you can plan it, and that's what we did. We chose like these 10 locations, planned out the whole year, and we're just like, right, like we're not going to get, for example, in LA, we got very lucky that we were able to do it at Soho Warehouse in downtown LA. In the beginning stages, we were like, oh, maybe we can get a spotlight or whatever. They're never going to give that to you. But if you do it now somewhere else and you show that you were able to sell tickets, or even if you don't sell tickets, collect the emails. Like if you can show anything that has like proof of receipt, that's going to get you one step further, and you can leverage all these moments with content and all these different things. So I totally agree. I think like having something like that in your artillery, being able to show that, it also will really sort of credit you from the outside perspective of being entrepreneurial, and like you said, community. Like if you are resonating with people there, right? It doesn't even have to be international. That's retrospectively maybe even a stupid idea, because if you were to do 10 events in one place all the time, then you really build community, because people will really be like, I knew these boys, or I knew this DJ, or I knew this artist first, and he's like absolutely smashing it. But back to bigger things. You just came back from Thailand playing EDC. I was actually there similar time. I didn't go to EDC. But I wanted to ask, what was that experience like? It was huge.
Yeah, that was great, man. It was cool. It's like it's not as big as overwhelming as the one in Vegas, but it's just intimate enough, and it's just big enough where it's like a proper festival experience. And yeah, it's just cool to be in that part of the world doing that. I've spent a lot of time touring in Asia too, and one of my songs like randomly is like always played in the Bangkok clubs anyways in Thailand too. So it's cool to go there and actually play the song after a couple years of that song kind of circulating in the clubs and things like that. One of my friends jokes, he's like, "Oh, it's the club anthem of Thailand or something," but it's probably not. But it's just funny how the way he says it. So yeah, it's just cool to just play a festival in Asia in general, especially in a location like that. It's not in like it's in Phuket. It's not in like Bangkok. So just to be by the beaches and do a festival there is super cool.
Yeah, and you've been doing this for like 15, maybe more years now. Does playing festivals still feel exciting to you, or does it feel like work? Like obviously it's work, but like is it?
Oh no, the festivals are the best part. Like playing the festivals is always just like the best. Sometimes grinding certain club shows can that's where I think it can kind of feel like a job too, is like grinding the small club shows. But usually you play a festival, it's just like the vibes are just so good. There's just all these big artists on the lineup too you get to play with. And then there's like hospitality and catering, and like it's just a cool experience, versus just like going to a normal club.
100%. And so as a closing question, I want to ask you, as you are a mentor and as we've discussed a lot of these different things, if you had to give one piece of advice to your 20-year-old self starting out, what would you tell yourself?
Man, the main thing is just kind of just trust what your interests are. You know what I mean? Like I just love music, and I wanted to be a DJ since I was probably 13 years old. I got turntables, I wanted to be a hip hop battle DJ when I was like 13, and I tried, and I lived in the middle of nowhere in Florida where I couldn't really learn from anybody, and I just kind of shelved the hobby for a little bit. And then I went to college and I saw people DJing again. I was like, oh, I got these turntables from when I was like, try to be a DJ back when I was 13. Picked it back up again. And I just think the most important thing is like, if you just got to trust what you want to do, I think. And that's super important. A lot of people like know what they want to do, but they don't there's so many outside opinions affecting your decision, you know, like your parents may say something and your peers might say something, and you really just got to trust what it is that you want to do, and you just can't really care what everybody thinks. But so try to look past everybody's opinions and just really trust what, like, I'm not going to say it like, oh yeah, you guys should follow your passion, because I think everybody says it like that. It's not so much just follow your passion, it's just like just trust what you want to do.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that solves all the things that we kind of like spoke about, because the ones that aren't doing or don't have that trust, they're not going to be the ones doing that content. They're not going to be the ones going that extra mile.
Yeah.
There's a lot of what I'm seeing right now, because it's so easy to enter this market, right? It's a lot of clout chasing in a way. You know, everyone and their dog's a DJ. You know, it goes through every social bracket. You know, the billionaires in Bel Air and the college dorm students, because you're standing there and you don't have to learn how to play an instrument, whatever. But, and I'm not saying discrediting it at all. You know, reading a room, playing a great set is a complete talent. But because, you know, finding those songs and knowing which songs are currently popping on TikTok or on Spotify or whatever, and, you know, maybe watching one or two sets from whatever genre you're into, Marco Carola, Michael Beebe, whatever, you know, it's quite easy to do. I think naturally what happens is that there is so much, but that eventually fades, and the ones who really want to do it, those are the ones that are going to be able to stick through. Yeah.
Agree.
Henry, real pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to link everything about yourself, about your videos, about your everything, your website in the description below. I'd highly recommend everyone to check it out. Thank you again.
Right on, Robin. Thank you guys for having me.